Welcome to This Agile Thing. I'm Matt Beam. This is probably Mike Marchi.
This is Mike Marchi.
Yes, and there's no...
And you are definitely Matt Beam.
Definitely.
I've seen you before.
Consistent on that, at least. And there's no Jeff Singleton this week. He is elsewhere.
He is otherwise engaged.
Yes. And we have, as usual, done our due diligence. We have gone over our list of topics exhaustively.
We've planned a conversation this morning that is going to knock your socks off.
Yeah, really the level of clarity and analytical precision is a little bit, I mean, I don't want to toot anybody's horn, but it's a little bit intimidating.
Certainly not ours.
No, that would be weird. So, do you want to just jump right into whatever we're not prepared for?
Sure.
Okay.
Like what's new in your neck of the wood?
Yeah. I'm thinking a lot about, I think we talked about this last week. I'm thinking a lot, or the 2 weeks ago, we're talking a lot about value stream networks and how to instantiate those. Because, if you are running regular scaled agile, you have to build a big thing and it takes 4, 5, 6, 7 teams and you're all building the same outcomes, right? The same business domains, the same solutions, products. And so you get to plan together. It makes sense to plan together. But if you've got a set of teams that all work, they're aligned to different business domains and they're all working on different, but any particular bit of work that goes like doesn't need to plan for the same set of teams. Like every project or initiative that comes in has to work with a different set of teams, and the order of the things you need to solve for in that initiative will lead you to different teams in that group. Then it seems like you have to roll that stuff up at the initiative or project level. And so the idea is you don't have a value stream, you have a value stream network. And the understanding of there's not one backlog for the whole team of teams. There's each team has its own backlog, but interspersed in that backlog is stuff for this initiative and this initiative and this initiative. So it seems like you have to, if you want to know what you're doing for any initiative, you have a list of stuff for that initiative, and it's on somebody to make sure.
That's going to get doled out across into multiple streams, so to speak.
Well, there's no central stream. There's each team with its own backlog. So the teams are focused, but to get to this outcome that requires different sets of teams to do different things at different times, the logical place that I've seen so far to roll that up and to guide it is at the initiative level. So you might have multiple initiatives, and then
So let's talk about this. The term value stream network. Is that relatively new? I'm not familiar with the term.
I've seen it. I've seen Mik Kirsten talk about it in his project to product book, and he's got a planning product, a service, software as a service, I think, that helps with that. But yes, it is relatively new. That's where I've heard of it. It's only in the past couple of years, I think.
Okay. So they've given a name to the pain that organizations have made for themselves, basically.
Yeah.
Because this is just another word for siloed organization, isn't it?
Well, it depends. I think in my mind, so silos, I think of them more being associated with functions. So a programming silo and a testing silo and a UX silo. So I don't know what you call it when you've got teams that are aligned with business domains, right? So this team is dedicated to finance. This team is dedicated to sales. This team is dedicated to operations, right? So you've got people with the skills to understand those domains and solve those problems, but you've got initiatives that have to include finance, sales, operations, infrastructure, and the teams you need to involve is different for every initiative. So I don't know. That doesn't feel siloed to me, but
okay. So the definitions then of their value streams, the products that they've chosen to align themselves to are internal support products. It's everything tied to finance is is a product and they have a cross-functional product team with all the skills necessary to do anything in the finance space. Is that what you're saying? So they're living into the spirit of what we're trying to promote.
Yeah.
But when they come up with one of these initiatives that crosses the streams, they go right back to a complex problem that needs to be solved somehow.
Well, they have I don't know if they go back, but they have a complex problem. Like that, what success looks like involves.
Okay, so it's a fractal. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is a fractal of a complex problem. Like what it used to be complex because the teams weren't cross-functional, and so we had to bring all these people together into a team from the different
domains,
practices, domains, sure, and then. And now we've created teams that we've gone up a level in the fractal. So now the teams function as cross-functional entities that in and of themselves are insufficient for the larger cross-functional cross-domain.
Yeah, I think it might be a function of the size of the organization, because you don't have enough volume of work requests to create a dedicated stream with some finance, some operational, some infrastructure, right? You've got the teams organized at the level that makes sense, but you still have work that crosses those.
Okay.
How do you manage the work?
So every one of those initiatives, though, if I were to map this out further, every one of those initiatives would have to go through all the motions that we would have done in a value stream for anything. It's like, and for every initiative, every player has to know the game and they have to know their part in it. So they have to take part in the planning, the coordination, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So is there a limitation put on how many of those you can have running at a time?
It's a great question.
Because it seems like you would run into, like, I've got to go through PI planning for initiative 1 because we're planning initiative 1. And then I also have to do PI planning for initiative 2 because that one's running. And I have to do PI planning for initiative 3.
But it's not even PI. It's not even PI's program increment planning, but there's no program here, right? The program is the set of teams that always plan together. And we're saying for every initiative, there's a different set of teams. So it's a legit, wicked problem.
So instead of maybe calling it PI planning was falling into the trap of legitimizing a framework. Big room planning.
Yeah, I'm not trying to beat you on a technicality. Right? I think but this is kind of the thing where we need to explore. Like, it's not really. We don't have a program. We have
you beat me with the safe stick, and I should have seen it coming. I should have seen it coming.
We've got I mean, it feels like a transitory space. Like, it's like with the Sherlock Holmes things. When you eliminate all the things that can't be true, whatever you're left with must be true, no matter how unlikely is what he said, but inconvenient in our space, right? Like,
okay. So are you, something you just said there, it made me think of something. Like, in the past, we justified the creation of cross-functional teams because of the pain of bringing all those roles together and coordinating all those roles together, because it created a complex space that needed management. And then we said, no, we'll build cross-functional teams. You'll have everything you need in one place. And now we've gone up a level. Now we've got these initiatives that we now have the relatively painful process of having to dole out this work and manage the work across the multiple
teams,
work streams.
Yeah.
Are we saying that this is the new pain? Like, this is the new thing that we would want to find an answer for? Or is this just the way it is, and this is just the way we do things around here?
Well, I'm not going to say that. That's for sure.
Okay.
But I do think it's the best that we've come up with so far. It's you're frozen, right? Oh man, that's adorable. That frame.
Something's frozen.
Yeah, anyway. Sorry,
I don't feel frozen. No. Let it go, man.
Yeah, totally. Come on, pay attention. It's the best answer we've got so far that I can tell, right? we have organized around value. We have minimized handoffs. We have, like, in general in the industry, like, and I need to sort of delve more deeply into what Mik is getting to with the idea of value stream network, because I think what you have to do with this kind of a problem is you have to have teams that are clear about their one backlog. You have to have teams that understand what their focus is, and somebody represents that to have efficient conversations, and one team, one backlog, one set of, at the team level, one clear set of priorities. But yeah, at some point somebody has to say, like, this thing that we need, this outcome that involves these different teams, like, who owns the backlog for that initiative? And that's not a backlog, but the list of things to do. It's going to
Well,
be different for.
it could be, though. I mean, so when you say it's not, is it because the tools that we use might be preventing you from
That's a fair
having
point.
a
What we might do, I mean, so gets more into the tools discussion, but like what you could do is, let's say you've got an initiative A, right? Initiative A requires the sales team to do this and blah, blah, blah. And so you could have the work items in each of those teams' backlogs tagged with initiative A,
Mhm.
and then just dynamically create a view that says, here's everything for initiative A. And if
Yeah,
you've got start and end dates on those things, you could see them in order, right? That would give you a roadmap just at the initiative level. I'm not saying project, right? Because
I hear
yeah,
you. I mean, whether it's a project or not, it's immaterial to this. There's a pile of work that needs to get done. That work is spread out across multiple people,
yeah,
multiple
yes,
teams,
exactly.
right? And each of those teams has that plus another pile of stuff that they need to
Yes,
do.
exactly. So every team's backlog is A, B, debts, risks, all that
Yes.
stuff. Yes.
And it's a coordination problem now. So there's where we would say within every initiative, there's probably a team of teams
Mm-hmm.
concept, right? All those, they would have to send representation from each of the value stream teams up to a team of teams. They say, hey, we're reporting on initiative 1. This is all the things for initiative 1 that are in flight. This is where our coordination points are. Are we prepared to meet each other at point A on day B? Right? Are we like,
This,
do we know what those
yeah,
are?
this is, I mean, maybe this is the question that I didn't realize we needed to ask. So let's say you've got a group of people who are all managing different initiatives. Do they have to get together to talk about initiative
An initiative of no, there's the team of teams within an initiative. I would think they would need to get together. They plan together.
But the team of
They
teams is
planned.
different for every initiative. So
Yes. Yes, it is. This is true, which means that you're going to have a coordination of some point with every one of those initiatives if you want to keep the initiative flowing. Otherwise, what you're implying is we perfectly planned this initiative and have no reason to ever touch base with each other to see if we're on track,
yeah,
which I don't believe is possible.
definitely not
That
what
sounds
I'm driving at.
waterfally to
Yes,
me.
exactly. So maybe
Okay,
that's
so
the gap in my model here, is where is the equivalent of the value stream or program backlog refinement, that one conversation where everything the team of teams works on is in one view. Like, what's the
mhm,
equivalent of that in a value stream network? I don't even know how you do
well,
it. Maybe you just have
so
all
if
the initiative voters get together and they hash it out.
maybe so, but I think you're thinking of two different things. There's like I'm going to call one the team of teams within an initiative,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got the let's call it an initiative of initiatives, a
Oh
team of
God,
initiatives,
yes.
right?
Do we need
So
that layout?
that's the program level. Someone's got to adjudicate that too, because you still have to get within what's going to trickle down to those individual backlogs at the team level. From the team's perspective, I'm just doing what the product owner tells me, but the product owner needed to get the sequencing from
Right.
somewhere, right? And so whatever that sequencing is, it's got to be in alignment not only with your own initiative, which is, remember, at the team level, that initiative is only part of what they're working on.
Exactly.
So someone's got to have the large, now I don't know if you call that a program or a portfolio, I think it depends on your organization because,
Yeah.
right, that there's a reason why, I hate to do this, the SAFe framework had the different flavors where you could turn the different views on and
Yeah.
off,
How many layers of
right?
abstraction or yeah.
Yes. And it wasn't that you always had level 3 and 4, right? You might have 3, you might have 4, you might have both.
Right. Right. Are you
So,
building a web app or an airplane? Kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think maybe the difficulty you're having in envisioning this is you tried to fit it into one. Like you thought there'd be one layer above.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. I guess I can see what the group of initiative older so you have the teams and the level above that is and I can see how they would everybody who owns an initiative would get together in that, let's say, weekly meeting and say, my stuff for the sales team has to come before your stuff from the sales team, and here's why. And just
Mm-hmm.
keep having those questions answered until everybody can have a list of priorities that they can see and understand, even if they don't like it. But I'm not sure what. I guess it really depends on the organization that you're working with, right? Sometimes you would need
Yeah.
a level above, sometimes you wouldn't, depending on the size of the thing that you're working on. Okay. It's really hard, like
Yeah.
to apply these patterns. Like it's easy to point to the diagram and click the arrows, but like when you actually apply it, like that's where the difficulty is. It gets complicated fast, and I'm just always trying to exploit the hidden simplicity. Is how somebody said it. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Goldrat who says, really, people think of stuff as complicated, so they're looking for complicated solutions. But if you understand the essence of the structures and the dynamics, it helps a lot.
Well, is there a piece of this though? I mean, if we took this to the next level, there's this piece where they created a complex structure because they believed they had a complex problem.
Sometimes that happens. Yes.
It's like, well, there's no way we can do that. So we're just going to have to create this behemoth of a solution.
Totally. But if you were in a blue, I don't know what you call it, green field, blue sky, whatever. If you
Mm-hmm.
could create it from scratch and had the ability to build whatever minimum required, what would you do in this case? That's really the
Yeah.
interesting. Like that's what I've been noodling on.
And how would you use that since we don't have a greenfield situation and we aren't creating teams from scratch? Now we have an existing corporate structure and an existing system.
Yeah.
Now we sit down and say, what would the perfect thing look like if we were to start from scratch today? What would we do instead? And then do you look at those two as one is a current state and one is a desired state?
Yeah. I mean, that would be change management, wouldn't it? I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it would. And then, so is there a path to transform from where we are to this other state? And then is it worth doing? Like, is there value in doing that?
Right. Yeah.
For there to be a value in that change, there has to be a recognition of lack of value in the current state or less value in the current state.
Yeah. There has to be a valuable problem to solve for sure.
Yeah. And so is it by coming up with solutions that might serve in this environment, are we locking ourselves into that state by virtue of the fact, well, we were able to make it work? So
Well,
why would we look for a
yeah.
alternative?
Yeah. I guess so maybe that's like a precondition or an assumption or a mindset or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but one of the more interesting things that I got from the team topologies book was the idea of, yeah, we'll help you understand how to better arrange your teams, right? But inherent in this idea is that, like everything in Agile, you should make the cost of change as low as possible, right? Refactoring your code should be easy and simple and safe. And at some point, it's refactoring your team should be easy and simple and safe, right? Because the market conditions are going to change, business priorities are going to change. So the team that you set up that's ideal today is going to be slightly not ideal next month and really not ideal in 3 months. And so you need some sort of sensing mechanism in the organization to know when your sales team doesn't have the skill that it needs anymore, and build that into your assumption. Like, do we have to change the team structure this month? And probably not. That's the benefit of making the change low cost, is that it's easy and it's relatively low risk, and you can make small changes as you go, as opposed to having to a big bang renovation.
Yeah. I mean, the optimization of the problem at the team space, the thing that I think you alluded to that is driving this is the thought that you don't always need everybody of every skill in every team and every initiative. And so there's a danger of people with nothing to do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a danger, but it's like everything in life is a trade off, right? It's like, and that's why I come back to the idea that this might be a function of organizations at a certain, like, bigger than a startup, smaller than a multinational, huge thing, right? At the level of, it doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
dedicate everybody to a huge value stream for a huge outcome, but you need the same group of teams that, they need to be organized around business domains, and like, but also it doesn't make sense to group them up into this one big product, because we don't have that. We've got a bunch of smaller initiatives, and how do you coordinate amongst them to make those initiatives clear and prioritized correctly? It feels like a function of a certain scale.
Possibly. I mean, just because you called it an initiative, I
Well,
mean,
I only
it's
used
still a right. It's still a idea that needs to be brought to life.
Yeah, I don't mean
Right.
I don't mean to imply scale when I use the word initiative. I'm just trying to not to say project, because project implies that we can know everything and just plan the work and work the plan. Outcome might be a better word.
Well, I mean, we can use initiative as long as we agree that
It's
initiative doesn't imply something. Like an initiative could be small. So
totally.
a product team could have a dozen initiatives in play
Yeah.
that are at the scale of a couple weeks worth of work.
Yeah, you might actually define initiative in this context as any outcome that requires at least two teams to coordinate, right? Because if it's just sales
Okay.
problems, those are PBIs and features. But if you need to coordinate amongst teams, suddenly you're in the realm of the initiative.
Okay, so now you use the F word. So you said feature. And so feature is again one of those conversations that happens based on your tool. What feature means to you kind of depends on which tool you're using.
Yeah.
Because there are tools that begin with a letter that don't natively have feature support, but you could call things features, and there's no governance over what you call a feature. So
Yeah.
this idea that I've heard it said, there are epics, and within epics are features, and within features are stories.
Yeah.
But that's not the mechanism. The tool doesn't do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I actually think there is a plugin for such a tool that I've seen that will rename the epic to feature.
Oh, that sounds helpful.
It'll go through and just everywhere it finds the word epic, it replaces it with the word feature.
That would be marketed as AI a year ago, probably.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose. But I mean, that then implies that you've got so now. So then I digress. Then there's initiative. So are we saying initiatives are bigger than epics?
No, I am not. I was trying to come up with a
Yeah.
neutral term that wouldn't have any of this baggage. Yes.
Okay. Well,
And I just contradicted myself, because the way I think about feature is a thing that doesn't fit into an iteration, a sprint, right? And requires at least two sprints, and also might break down into stories that go to different teams. So this is all, definitions are
so
super important.
maybe there's a distinction there that is useful because there's when you've got to cross the team and there's when you've got to cross the sprint.
Yes, I do think maybe that's one of the things we should explicitly say. If you're designing a system of this kind, that seems actually crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably better to say feature is within one team, initiative is outside the team, but but neither one of them fit in a sprint. Because if they could fit into it,
Well, epic is just something that doesn't fit in a sprint.
totally.
I mean, we could go with that, right? So then by definition, then epic could cross teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think so.
So you could have a feature that crosses.
You have initiative that crosses teams.
Initiative that crosses teams that could get banged out in a sprint.
But in the tool, it would still be captured as a
so
feature.
It's not an epic. Yeah. Yeah. See, yeah. And again, I know this conversation is totally constrained by that tool right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just,
yeah.
It just happens to be an interesting conversation that I am supposed to be taking part in right now. And
Yeah, the longer I spend in the quote unquote agile space, the more grindingly obvious it is to me why they decided to include people and interactions over processes and tools. Because I see every place I go, there is a natural inclination for the tail to wag the dog in terms of just
pick a tool and then do what we're saying.
Whatever the workflow is in the tool, that's what we're going to do.
We're using the tool. Therefore, we are doing an agile project.
Yes.
It's like, that's the one I got right now. Well, we're not going to use the tool because we're not an agile project. It's like, well, the tool isn't explicitly agile in and of itself. The tool is just a place for keeping stuff.
It's an unrelated question on some level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, did we solve value stream networks? Decouple?
And as much as we understand what they are, Mik Kirsten, if you have a rebuttal to what we've said, we'd love to.
I mean, I guess we could let him on the show. I mean,
I suppose we could.
Yeah.
It would probably take him 5 minutes to set us straight, and then.
Well, so maybe that's the assignment for next week is to find out what's been written, what's out there, what's the state of the art thinking on this, and come back and then.
Yes, we should. And so I guess we could say this has been
an agile thing.
An agile thing.
It's been this one for sure. I've been take two.
Ooh, have you?
No. That was incorrect. I have been Matt Beam. That's for sure.
I've been Mike Marchi. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Talk soon.
See ya.